Alright, now here's the second part of the video, and as you can see I've got my cut piece laid onto my patch panel, and I'm going to use the cut piece, like I said, as a template to cut the new panel. And you want to make sure that you get this fitting on there as good as you can. I mean, you're only making a mark with a Sharpie, so you can make as many marks as you want, but you can only cut once. So the old saying, measure twice, cut once, definitely applies here. I got a little bit of a problem right here. As you can see, it's not sitting down flush there. So what I'm going to do is just take the cutoff wheel, cut the corner of the original panel off to try and get it to sit down in there flush, so I can make a good mark and make a good cut. So as you can see, I cut a little chunk off the back of the fender, the original piece, to line up with my new patch panel, and it's lining up pretty good. You need to put some force into it. You probably have to straighten out this panel. I've been hammering on this just with the little tiny hammer there, just to get it straight and to get it to sit down inside the original patch, so I get a good cut and get a good piece to weld in that's not going to require much fitting. You take a little bit of time here, you'll save a lot of time fitting later on when you're trying to actually get this patch panel welded in. So just take a little time. It does, a few extra minutes here trying to get this lined up will save you a whole bunch of time in the long run. So I've drawn my mark. Hopefully you can see it. It's a little, might be hard to see in the camera, but because it's black Sharpie on a black panel, but it's pretty wide, and I'm definitely going to cut on the outside of my line to give myself a little extra meat for fitting. So don't cut it too short, because you'll have to do a lot of extra work, or if you cut it way too short, you're going to have to order a whole new patch panel and wait for that in the mail, and you don't want to do that. So cut on the outside, give yourself some extra meat to work with. So I've been working on the patch panel, and I've got it pretty well fitted, and you can see I come around here. I drilled one hole there and another hole there for the rosette weld. The one down here, I'm going to try and hit that from the back side, as well as all these down here. There, you see, I just drilled straight through the bottom, and I'm going to spot weld those from the back side. It'll save me some time in prepping this area down here. I won't have as much body work to do. One thing I want to mention is here, this is sort of the back side of the fender. This is the side that butts up against the door, and again, this is the passenger side fender. This lip on your patch panel isn't as long as the original, and so I'm not quite sure what I'm going to do there. What I'm thinking is, if I pull this, you can see a bit of a gap, and it's about 1/8 of an inch between the original edge and the new edge, and it's not a good idea to build up body filler on an edge like that, because it cracks off real easily. What I'm thinking I'm going to do is take some, I'll fold this edge over, this edge right here. I'll fold it over a little bit more, and then what I'll do is I'll cut a piece of 16 gauge flat stock that I've got, and remake this edge, and I'll even stick it up just a little bit on this edge right here, so that I can lay some stinger beads going down the edge of this panel, and that'll build it up. I'll grind them down smooth, and hopefully they'll match up with this. That'll just build up some material, and then I can body work over that, just a real thin coat of body filler to fill that in. So that's what I'm going to try and do. But as you can see, it's fitted up pretty well, and I'll get some tacks on it and show you my progress. And here we have the patch. Well, it's actually pretty much welded in. As you can see down here, I've done the rosette welds along the bottom, and the rosette welds along the wheel edge, and did a little bit of a stitch weld right there along the inner edge. So anyway, I just need to come back in here and jump around. If you watched one of my previous videos when I was doing the floor of my truck, basically in that video I just did small little stitch welds, pretty much a continuous bead effectively. And on the floors, that's fine, because you're really not going to get that much distortion. The metal's it's a little bit thicker than this, and even if you do get some distortion, it's not that big a deal, because at least in my truck it's going to be hidden under sound deadening material and carpet. But here on an exterior panel, you do need to jump around. Turn your welder down and jump around, just spot welding, little bits at a time. That way you don't get too much distortion. Right now this panel is pretty darn smooth, and I'm real happy with it, except for this edge. You can see here it's not lining up there. I can do some hammer and dolly work to get it to line up a little bit better, but ultimately I think I am going to have to come in with a strip of metal and finish off this edge, but we'll just work at it and figure it out as I go along. And here you can see I've got the seam fully welded. Like I said, just jump around, spot welds, just you know, effectively random places, and don't heat up the metal too much. See, I just got done welding this, and I can put my bare hand on it. It's not too hot. And here on this edge, you can see I ground some of this E-coating off of the panel here, and I think what I'm just going to do is do some stringer beads in this area. If I back up a little bit, maybe you can see that there is a divot in this area. So like I said, I think I'm going to run some stringer beads just to fill this area in, and then I'll grind it smooth, because right down in this area the new panel does butt up against the original inner structure of the fender, so I can weld it there. It does leave some open area here, which I might put a small piece of metal in there, but I think for now I'm just gonna put some run some beads along this edge, grind them smooth, and let's see, maybe at this angle you can see, and just try and fill out this area a little bit more. That's it. It's mostly done. You may or may not have to do this on yours. It just comes down to it. When I was trying to fold this corner up a little bit, I put a pretty gnarly little dent there, but it's less than a 1/4 inch deep, so I can just skim over it with body filler and not worry about it too much. So I'm going to get cracking on filling up this edge, and I'll show you that when I'm done. Alright, you can see that I just got finished doing some stinger beads here on the very edge of the fender, and you can see that it kind of bows out a little bit, which is great, because that's what I want. I want enough material to grind off and get this edge as straight as I can. And so just got to do a little bit of grinding, and I think I might have to run to the store and get some more grinding discs, but you can see there just some fillet welds, some stinger beads, and it's good for grinding. We'll see if we can get that edge straight, and see if we can get this level down. And that's it. All the welding is pretty much finished. I've got the seam ground smooth. Like I showed you, I added some weld here along the side. I was able to get that ground down smooth. I've got my little bark monster there. It wants me to kick the ball or throw it or something. Anyway, so this patch panel is effectively done, and I'm gonna move on up here to the front end of the cab, and I'll work on that, and I'll certainly make videos and show you how to tackle the front end. Appreciate you watching.